All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. This is our CPAC meeting on IEP goal setting and progress monitoring. So I'm going to share screen so that everyone can see that. This might be the best one. All right. All right, Gabby, can you see that on your screen? Thank you very much. All right, so welcome. So tonight's topic is IEP goal setting and progress monitoring. We're going to start with the ESR and show some descriptions and talk a little bit about what is in that, and then we are going to be moving through to the IEP and then talking about progress report. But first, we want to talk about our Christina CPAC, and that is designed as a parent-led and provides direct support to parents. So meetings are designed to be conversational and open with an emphasis on sharing feedback, ideas, information, questions, and concerns. And CPAC strives to promote communication between families and the district to better support the education of children. We encourage all families and caregivers of students of special education needs, IEPs, and 504s to participate and attend meetings scheduled by CPAC. And so our CPAC right now, we don't have parents that have the ability to be leaders on our team at this time, but we're always open for interest of those that are willing to do that, even if it's starting out with just leading our parent roundtable we have after our presentations. So feel free to add to the little parent the Google form when you sign in there your interest for that. All right, our agenda today, we're going to go through introductions of our special services team and our student services. It's the Force 504s. We'll do the presentation on the IEP goal setting and progress monitoring. We'll have some time for a parent roundtable. We will stop the recording for that because we know parents share personal information, and then we'll just have our closing. All right, so our introductions to our team. So for our district level team for special services leadership, and that includes our special education and child find services. So we have our director of services, Becky Ryan, and she's going to be joining us in a little bit, but right now she is doing a calendar committee meeting. We have supervisor special services, Jill Casey, who is also on another meeting. He'll join us in a little bit. I'm a supervisor of special services, Patty Knapp. We also have the lead special education coordinators, Cheryl Wharton, Tammy Love. We have our compliance special education coordinator, Julie O'Connor, and we have our manager of student services. Gabby, you can introduce yourself. Gabby Corey.
Hello, Gabby Corey, Manager of Student Services. Welcome.
And Gabby is our 504 coordination for Christina School District. All right, so let's jump right in. So understanding the ESR and the IEP. So this helps parents understand meaningful participation and in eligibility and IEP meetings. It gives context for why goals and services are recommended. So the key message in understanding that connection is evaluations tell us what the student needs. Those assessments tell us where their strengths and weaknesses lie in their academics, their functional skills, their communication skills. The ESR kind of explains the why behind that. The IEP explains how we support those needs. So why this matters to parents? So ESR decisions impact eligibility. It helps us identify the classification in education that best meets the student's needs. ESR findings drive IEP goals and services. So while it doesn't state the goals in the ESR, we use that information to identify what the goals should be. And parents are required members of the team for the IEP, in which the ESR, which is our evaluation summary report, that identifies those needs. Oh, I didn't realize that's a copy, pardon that. So what is an ESR? So the evaluation summary report, which we often call the ESR, is a document that summarizes all those evaluation data and explains the team's eligibility decision. Pardon me, it's been a long day. And it includes data reviewed, student strengths and needs, and eligibility decisions and rationale. And I will show you a template here in just a few minutes. What the ESR is not, it is not the IEP, so it does not include those IEP goals. It does not list the services, and it doesn't contain the goals and the setting the student will be serviced in. All right, so key sections of the ESR. It's very important, the present levels of academic and functional performance, the summary of those evaluation results, and classification determinations. I have one open, but let's see. All right, did it change screen, Gabby?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Gonna enlarge it a little bit, make sure everybody can see. So as you can see, there is the front page where it identifies the date. When there is initial eligibility, that's going to be that first evaluation students have to identify if they're eligible for special education services. And so that box initial will be checked. Then there is every 3 years, there's a triennial evaluation. And so when that happens, the reevaluation box will be checked. And then there's other boxes about if the student transfers to another district or if reviewed or adopted. It's very important the eligibility date on that is accurate. The eligibility date, it'll have the meeting date and has all the demographic information for the students. Let me scroll down. All right, and so this is where you'll start seeing the information that this describes the reason for the referral for the parents' concerns of what we're why we're doing an evaluation. So that information will be included in there. There'll be relevant background information, which is really important. It has the strengths, and then just about the history of the student and where family or school might have started seeing some differences in their learning that needed to be recorded or that concerns about that needed to be addressed. And then it goes into more of making those decisions on the data that's provided. Let me know if the dehumidifier is too loud. I can reduce that. And so there isn't any information in here because this is just a template, but it goes through and it talks about the IT discussion of an adverse effect on educational performance, what is being considered. There is the statement of insurance, whether the student does qualify for special education services, and then that decision of that primary educational classification. There are occasions where students might have a secondary classification. If you have a student that might have, an example student might have autism, but they might also have a classification of a mild intellectual disability. So the classification that is the most primary would be that one that is chosen. And then also it's possible the student might not meet classification, and so then that will be checked in the box. And then just the signature page of where all the attendees that participated in that decision making. I'm going to close this. All right, I'm going to turn off the dehumidifier real quick.
Miss Knapp, do you take questions during the presentation or after?
It really depends. I'm probably best after just because it's recorded, and if it's a personal response, we want to make sure that there's no personal information shared during the recording. So, but if they want to put it in the chat now, that's fine, so that we have that available as we get to the end. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So, how does the ESR connect to the IEP? So we consider it the bridge. The ESR identifies those needs and the IEP addresses those needs. Some examples of what you might have, child might have a reading deficit, and then we would identify a reading goal. There might be a fine motor delay, and then we would identify some OT services and goals if it's appropriate. The ESR to present levels in the IEP. So present levels in the IEP should reflect ESR findings. So it should be addressed in the ESR to be addressed in the IEP, as long as it's been evaluated through that process. All right, ESR and IEP goals and services. So there should be a strong alignment, looks like. The ESR identifies those skills gaps for the student, be it academically, be it through communication, occupation, like fine motor, gross motor that would be provided through OT services. Goals target those specific skills. Progress monitoring matches the evaluation data. So we want to make sure we're taking data for progress on the goal is identified that match the evaluation deficit results. The connection services are chosen to support identified needs, and the frequency and type should match the data. So there should be a connection there. IEP versus 504 plans. So the IEP is for students who qualify under IDEA, includes specialization and specialized instruction and measurable goals, or a 504 plan provides accommodations and does not include specialized instruction or goals. And Dr. Corey, while I have you on here, is there any other information that we could use to just sort of delineate between the two?
No, I think that's good. Clear.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so what is an IEP? So strong IEP goals are individualized to the student and their need, addresses areas of need from the evaluation. They are measurable and they support access to learning. What makes a quality IEP? Its strong goal includes there should be a skill, so what the student will learn, the condition, that means how and when the skill is used, and measurement, how progress is tracked, and the criteria is how much success is expected. So it's really important. So we have an example on the screen of a possible annual goal. It has by June 2026. So that tells us when we should see the completion of the progress on this goal. It's given visual support, so it gives us some conditions, and the student will independently complete the task in 4 out of 5 opportunities. So that tells us our measurement and our criteria. I'm just checking who we had entered. There's somebody. Okay, so Jill Casey joined us. Thank you. She's our other supervisor, special services. Remember, if a goal can't be measured, it can't be meaningfully monitored. All right, so our Infinite Campus IEPs in Delaware. So we have switched over from Power School to Infinite Campus this school year. It has been a big transition for that process. So what parents see, so they should have present levels, needs and goals. There'll be a special services grid, progress reports when those are produced at the time, and the LRE placement. So I do have an example. It takes just a minute and then I can zoom in a little bit. And so again, this is a template with just basic information, but you'll see it has the student information at the beginning. The IEPs are always draft until the IEP meeting, and then that draft mark is removed. It has your student's IEP status, parent and guardian information. Then it gets into what the student's strengths are, the educational concerns of the parent or student, if it's appropriate, if it's a secondary student that has the ability to communicate their own concerns. Our section 3 is the multiple data sources. So that could be information that came from the ESR to make those decisions, but it will be based on evaluations and data collected by the professionals supporting the student. Section 4 is how does the child's disability affect the child's involvement and progress in general education curriculum. So it's their areas of need. It will describe how the student performs in that particular area without support, and that anything in our sections 4 and 5 would have a need or goal representing how we're going to address those. And so the IEP just continues to go through about how the student will participate with their peers. Are there any extra supports that need to be considered? Like the other factors, communication needs of the student, language, assistive technology, evidence-based reading. Then it'll continue to go through it and start adding those need areas. It could be math, it could be ELA, it could be communication, it could be fine motor, gross motor. It gets very specific for each student. And then there would be the annual goal that will be created. So this page only has a template section for one goal, but depending on the student, there could be multiple goals. There could be multiple goals under one need. If it's occupational, fine motor need, the occupational therapist might have two different goals that they're working on. So they could be separate or together depending on what the specific goals are. And then there's a section for if it's a therapist assigned specifically. And then there would be a related services grid. So if the student was identified to receive, like the example here has physical therapy, it would talk about how long and under what conditions they would receive that support. And then we talk about transportation, discipline, participation if they qualify in a 12-month programming, if they qualify for reading-based ESY services, and extended school year. And so then it gets into the placement for the student. And so the goals would help identify what is the appropriate placement for the student. And it is an IEP team decision. So let's go back to our goals as we're discussing here. Okay. I think I might have, did I skip it? Nope. So our key takeaways. So it's important to remember eligibility and classification explain the why a student qualifies. IEP goals and services explain what the student needs to be successful. The most important parts of the IEP are the goals, services, and supports, and parents are equal partners in that IEP team decision making. More key takeaways are while the student's disability classification is important for determining eligibility, it's not what defines their day-to-day learning. What truly matters are the IEP goals, services, and supports, because those are what outline what your child needs to be successful in school. Two students can have that same classification and very different IEPs because the IEP is built around individual strengths and needs, not just a label in their classification. So this aligns with both best practice and Delaware's intent under IDEA. Some common goal areas. This is not an all-inclusive list. The goals may target reading, writing, math. It could be communication and or language. It could be social and emotional skills, behavior and self-regulation, fine motor or gross motor skills, executive functioning. Other things that aren't here are sensory regulation. And so it's all based on that initial evaluation, any data collected to identify those IEP goals. Progress monitoring. So what is progress monitoring and how it's measured? So progress monitoring is ongoing data collection. It's used to track growth over time. So there'll be progress collected after each marking period. It's required by IDEA, and it's shared with parents regularly as those marking periods are completed. Then that information is shared out. How is progress measured? So it's done through work samples, observation data, curriculum-based measures, behavior tracking, therapy data. So all those data points are analyzed and used to identify the progress made for each goal. When do parents receive an update? So parents receive progress reports each marking period, which is as often as report cards, in writing electronically or hard copy, and progress data is linked to IEP goals. And also, what's not on here, there also could be linked to transition goals if it's a transition student. We don't have a sample for that at this time. We're working through that transition for Infinite Campus. As students get new IEPs within that Infinite Campus system, then the the progress reports will present a little differently than what they are now until they have that first IEP. So right now we're using templates from the previous Power School and entering that information to share with families. And as students get in the system, that will be updated. All right, so that is all the information that we have for that. I am going to stop sharing and I am going to stop the recording. So if anybody has any questions. All right, let me complete our presentation here. We stopped for roundtable. And so we stopped the recording for that. So we have our parent feedback survey. which we have in our chat box that is a Google form to collect parents' responses. Again, we're always looking for parent volunteers to lead the roundtable or be even more involved in our CPAC as it is parent-led. Thank you for your participation. We do have our upcoming calendar. It's not changed in here, but in February, we will not be having our CPAC transition planning meeting because we do have a scheduling conflict, but we are going to post information by that date and also make it available for parents through the either secondary teacher or SEC is going to share that and have it available. All right, and I think that's it. So that concludes for this evening. Thank you. I'm gonna stop.